if you go to my ADAPTS model, which is an acronym for audit, design, arrange, purge, technologize, and subcontract, right? So we audit, we look at where we are, we design where we want to be, we arrange the priorities, we purge, we get rid of anything that's superfluous, unnecessary, bring in technology to automate, and then we delegate anything that's left over. So really those last two, that's the big game changer is I didn't want to do anything, right? Like I want to be able to be a lazy business owner. That doesn't mean I'm going to be, but I want to work because I want to work, not because I have to work. And
Mhm.
that's the mentality I try to instill in my clients is I don't want you in the truck unless you want to be. If you want to be in the truck, great. Like go enjoy it. If you want to be on the roof, great. But I don't want you out there if you don't want to be out there. And frankly, it might not be the best place for you. And so what we did was we went through and it was really a pain. Now we have systems like Proline where you've got, this automated communication, these drip campaigns you can roll out in, with the click of a couple of buttons, but we didn't have that. And so I spent so much time, energy, and money trying to figure out how to do workarounds. I mean, I paid SalesRabbit and Job Nimbus to try and do an integration together, like a special integration. We used GHL to back end both of those systems. We put in a lot of effort to make that happen, but ultimately what it came down to was, within a year, the vast majority of the business was really pretty automated. I set a goal. My first goal for the companies, most people are focused on revenue or maybe profit. Mine was I want to look like a 10-year-old company within 10 months. On paper, if someone looks us up, I want to look like we've been around for 10 years because of the level of excellence. So everything from our logo to our website to the reviews that we had, the systems that we had a bunch of automations. We were very customer service, white glove service kind of focused. So those were the big changes. And then we also did some really interesting things with like selling retail in Dallas, flipping insurance to retail. And so we did a lot of really kind of interesting things, I would say, that were probably attractive to someone in PE because it gave them angles and avenues as well as the automations and systems. And then my business partner he's a genius with commercial and specialty systems. And so we were kind of a nice package, rare package deal where you had someone who I would say I have probably an uncommon operational mind and as a roofing owner who also has done, the full sales process from door to door. And then my business partner was just he's, he's a he's a genius, in those ways and in other ways too. So I think they were attracted to us and then the products that we had kind of put together.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That's awesome. There's just so much there. I've been like taking notes. So we can circle back. No, that's phenomenal. I love your adapts model. I love that how you have it broken down. That's makes so much sense. I was looking at that a few weeks ago because I went and kind of looked at your funnel for your new offerings.
Yeah.
There's so much value there. Just in the mental models before you even look at the information and the systems themselves, just the
Yeah.
mental models of like adapts and like just being able to, that's so valuable.
I
uh
appreciate that. Yeah.
yeah. Incredible. So one thing kind of stuck out to me, and I want to ask this selfishly because I it's something that I've been thinking about a lot personally for Proline even, but I know it applies across the board for a lot of contractors. That is, you're talking about as a business owner, you want to get to the point where you don't actually need to work. Maybe you want to work, maybe you go and jump into things that you want to do, but you don't have to work. Um, and a devil's advocate on that
Yeah.
is something that I've struggled with is when you build out the business to the point where it no longer needs you and
Yeah.
it doesn't need you at all. um how do you, well, I guess an instinct that I have is like, well, I still need to be in working on all these things because I need to set an example for the rest of my team. I want the rest
Sure.
of my team to look at me and see I'm working just as hard as them. And so I guess how would you handle slash balance that for, you know, for me or for a contractor that's like, hey, I hear you, but I really don't want my team to be looking at me like, why am I working so hard when he's not? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, that's an absolutely fantastic question, very astute observation. And frankly, it is a problem. You can absolutely destroy your culture by being an absentee owner. So I think there are angles to take on that, right? And here's the thing. I'll tell you, I mean, I'm a really transparent guy. I actually had one of the greatest losses in my professional career occur because of that mistake in the roofing space. Because of the way I work, and I work primarily remotely. Like the vast majority of what I do is from a desktop with monitors, and I run the company remote, right? And so I ran into some problems with other leadership where it appeared that I wasn't doing anything. And I had to go through and show all this documentation of what I had actually been building out behind the scenes. And a lot of the time, and you guys probably understand this as software developers, the user interface might seem very simple. Ideally, it does. But the build out of it, the complexities of figuring out how all of these little puzzle pieces fit together is incredibly complex. So just to validate your question, it's a huge issue. It's one that I've personally suffered from because of my own errors in that. What I would do differently there, I think, is one, you do need to show off your work. I didn't do that. I didn't really care about the credit. I was like, I just want to roll up my sleeves and move the needle at that point, right? And that was a mistake. I didn't tell anyone really what I was doing. I was just doing it. And it was making changes to the business that people didn't necessarily see until after the fact. The other thing is, I think FaceTime is important. So I'm also someone who you know, I'm not the most relational guy in some ways. I do have, I mean, you guys, I have great relationship with you guys. Like I do have great relationships, but most of my relationships are very product driven. And I think that's something that you know, frankly, is maybe a weakness of mine as a leader. And it's something that I'm aware of. Is I'm a bit of an introvert. I'm very I can be very loud and you know outspoken and everything like that. But I'm also a bit of an introvert, and I like a lot of time alone and everything like that. And I keep to myself for the most part. And so you know that's something else that's kind of bit me in the butt. But I'll say if just making an effort to get in front of people on a regular basis, I think that's a big deal. And then communicating what you're doing, that's important. And then caring about them. And that is one thing that I did do well because I always cared about my people. And so it's funny because it was never my employees or subs or anyone like that who doubted my commitment. It was actually other leadership because those guys they saw the way I cared about them because when I called them it was to check on them, right? When I had that capacity because I wasn't out in a truck or on a roof. I could call them and say, you know, hey Joe, how you doing, man? You know, what's going on? You know, I see you closed 3 jobs yesterday, congratulations. Or hey, I see you haven't closed a job in a while, is everything okay? You know, and I can call those guys and touch base with them on that personal level. And then also just having, you know, culture is such a big thing. It's so important. And I think it's, you know, that was probably something. And to be fair to us, we had a rough time with COVID. Just it hit us at a really inopportune time and it hit us particularly hard. And so that really kind of jacked up our culture that we had started to build. And it took about a year to recover from that. So, but that's what I would say is the number one thing is make sure you're getting in front of people. Also be someone that they aspire to be, you know, give them a leader to look up to, show them, hey, you can have these things and then help them get there. So if your focus is, you know, if you're largely hands off, you can still participate and you can still care about the business